Can I have you plantarflex your foot? I should feel it contract, right? Okay. The soleus lies deep to the gastroc. Go to page 322 in your book. One thing you're going to want to do is have the knee flexed. Flexing the knee puts the gastrocs on slack. Makes it a little bit easier for me to move the tissue aside and try to palpate under the gastrocnemius. You're not going to get your fingers literally under the gastrocnemius, right? You're just trying to kind of push it aside and get a sense for the muscle fibers just off to the side of that. And she's going in from the medial side, so yeah, so right in here. And so what the person in the picture showing is you kind of you see the outline of the gastrocnemius, you can kind of come in underneath that, and once again ask the person to simply plantarflex their foot, and you might be able to find the fibers of the gastrocnemius, the soleus. You can also, don't let me push your foot back if you want a stronger contraction. The soleus muscle will be easier to palpate the more distal you are. The closer proximal you are, there's more of the gastroc muscle mass there. So lower down, just kind of coming off the side and deep, and again pushing up, and you should be able to kind of feel just the lateral, or on this side, the medial fibers of the soleus. You might be able to do the same laterally, okay? But remember, it lies deep to the gastroc, so you're going to be kind of palpating through those to find the soleus. Can I have you on your back, please? Anterior tibialis lies just lateral to the tibia. So again, one of the reasons I ask you to find the tuberosity, kind of follow the tibia down to the medial malleolus. You need to be able to identify the anterior tibia, come just lateral to it. How do we confirm palpation? It's an ankle dorsiflex, so have him dorsiflex his foot, and actually probably even more prominent, I was probably too inferior, okay? Where does the tendon attach to? The medial cuneiform and the base of the first metatarsal. So what I can do is find that region and ask him to dorsiflex, and again I can follow that tendon right into that area. You can see it on him; it's very prominent. Actually, this is going to be the anterior tibialis coming right into the cuneiform in the first. Okay, good. All right. Tibialis anterior. The flexor retinaculum is located medially. We're not so much interested in the retinaculum itself. The retinaculum is just a sheath of collagen tissue that creates a tunnel for which the posterior tibialis flexor digitorum, as well as the tibial nerve and artery and veins, all go through. Very akin to our carpal tunnel in our wrist. We have that flexor retinaculum in our wrist. We have that carpal tunnel. This is you had a condition called tarsal tunnel syndrome. Tarsal tunnel syndrome is pretty much same thing going on, excessive compression within the tarsal tunnel, and then there can be some nerve things going on and issues with some of the tendons and all that. Okay, so listed in order, what you're going to do is you're going to find the medial malleolus, and you're just going to come immediately inferior and really posterior to it. What does the posterior tibialis do? What is its action? It's a plantar flexor and inverter. So I can confirm by having them plantar flex and invert, or if I want to, just say, "Hold, don't let me move you," and I'll feel it pop up into my finger. You should be able to follow the tendon along into its insertion at the navicular tuberosity. It inserts into the navicular tuberosity. So knowing where that navicular tuberosity is, you can follow the posterior tibialis tendon to there, okay? Once you've identified posterior tibialis, the very next tendon posterior, and it's going to be a little hard to distinguish one over the other, but you're going to try and do your best. The next one posterior is flexor digitorum longus. What does the flexor digitorum longus do?
Flex the toes.
Flex the toes. So we're going to ask the person to flex the toes. Can you do that without flexing your big toe? Why do I not want him to flex his big toe? Because flexor hallucis longus tendon is going to be right there. Okay, so just posterior to that tendon is going to be the Flexor Pollicis Longus, and then I'm going to ask him to just simply bend his big toe, or use your hand. Just don't let me push on your big toe, and that'll key in for them to just contract that. The Flexor Pollicis Longus tendon, you can follow it. It is the tendon that goes under the substentaculum tali. So we just identified the substentaculum tali. I can find it again, come just inferior to it, and once again ask the person to contract their toe, and I should feel the tendon pop up into my finger. Okay? So those three in order, and your book does kind of a job there telling you, this, find this one, then just move posterior, then just move posterior, and that's how you find all three. Extensor digitorum longus. It extends the toes 2 through 5, right? What you're going to do is with anterior tibialis, I found it, found the muscle body, belly, very proximal. For the extensor digitorum longus, you're going to have to be a little bit more lateral, also a little bit more inferior, and then I can ask them to pull up, and I'm basically looking for where, just try to relax your foot there, and just into my fingers here. That's better. Try to get them not to contract the anterior tibialis muscle while they're doing this. So just real gently, just resist me gently, just kind of meet my resistance. And I'll only push so hard. If I push harder and harder and harder, he's eventually going to call his anterior tibialis because you're trying to push my whole ankle and he's going to compensate, right? So the amount of force you're using here is very important, okay? And you can kind of see it popping up here versus the anterior tibialis. Go ahead, squeeze. Now you can see the muscle really popping up there, okay? All right. The extensor pollicis longus is even more lateral. It is the great toe extender, so I'm just going to ask him to simply just push into my hand here with the one and relax. And do it again. And you'll feel the muscle pop up into your finger. That's better. You can also very easily see the distal tendon and palpate the tendon. Go ahead. Distally, going into the great toe, and you can follow it back quite a ways into the lower leg. You'll lose it at about the talocrural joint, the tendon, but you can start to follow it back and outline that. Okay? Fibularis longus and brevis. Can you lay on your side for me? They are the lateral muscles. The tendons run posterior to the lateral malleolus. So what is the actions of the Peroneus Longus and Brevis? I say Peroneus, you might have learned Fibularis. Eversion, and they are plantarflexors.
That's right. Which one?
Yes?
It's early. It's early.
The line of pull is posterior to the talocrural joint, so when they contract, they are going to plantarflex the foot, as well as some eversion component to it. Yes, definitely everted. So what we're going to ask to do to confirm is we're going to have them evert their foot. You're going to find the muscle bellies of the Peroneus Longus and Brevis. You are not going to be able to distinguish one over the other. What you can do is for the tendon of the Peroneus Brevis, where does the tendon of the Peroneus Brevis insert into? Attached to the fifth, yeah, right, the base of the fifth med head there off the tuberosity. So you should be able, when the person inverts their foot, palpate that broad tendon as it's going into the fifth metatarsal head. The Peroneus Longus sneaks underneath and makes its way all the way to the other side of the foot. We are not going to be finding that tendon and looking for that in the plantar foot. So just the Fibularis longus and brevis, those are the lateral muscles on the side. We're going to confirm by having the person evert, so make sure you can find them, okay? As well as I'd like you to be able to locate that tendon of the just the brevis, okay? That's the only one we're going to look for. And let's do